Welcome to XRP Pro Ledger, and today we are going deep on something that happened in Washington just hours ago, and most people in this community are reading it completely wrong. Senator Elizabeth Warren filed dozens of amendments against the Clarity Act today, and by the end of the day, the total amendment count filed against tomorrow's markup session had crossed 100. 100 attempts to stop this bill before it reaches a vote, and I want you to stay with me through this entire breakdown, because at the 7-minute mark, I am going to show you exactly why 100 amendments filed against the Clarity Act is actually the most bullish signal this community has seen all week, and why the math behind tomorrow's vote makes every single one of those amendments irrelevant before the session even begins. But first, let us talk about what Elizabeth Warren actually filed today, because understanding the nature of these amendments tells you everything about whether they can actually stop this bill. Warren's amendments target several specific areas. She wants to restrict crypto firms from accessing Federal Reserve infrastructure. She wants to add consumer protection language that industry groups say would effectively kill decentralized finance. And she has submitted proposals that would significantly narrow the scope of which digital assets qualify as commodities under the Clarity Act framework. These are not minor procedural edits. These are structural attacks designed to either kill the bill outright or weaken it to the point where it no longer serves its purpose. And here is what most people are missing when they read that headline. The Senate Banking Committee is split 13-11 in favor of Republicans. That means the Clarity Act has the votes to advance on a straight party line split. And in a committee markup session, amendments from the minority party require majority support to be adopted. Elizabeth Warren's amendments require Republican committee members to vote for them. And not a single Republican on the Senate Banking Committee has signaled support for restrictions that would limit crypto firm access to Federal Reserve infrastructure. Every single one of those 100+ amendments is expected to fail. And here is why that matters more than the headline suggests. When a minority party files 100 amendments against a bill the night before markup, that is not a sign of strength, that is a sign of desperation. You do not throw 100 amendments at legislation you expect to defeat through the normal political process. You throw 100 amendments when you know the votes are not there and you are trying to slow the process down through procedural obstruction. Elizabeth Warren filed 100 amendments because she does not have the 13 votes needed to stop this bill in committee. That is the signal most people missed today. Now let us understand what the Clarity Act actually means for XRP specifically, because this is where the story gets very precise for every holder watching this breakdown. The Clarity Act does something that no regulatory guidance has ever been able to do permanently. It codifies the separation between digital commodities and digital securities directly into federal law, not as an SEC interpretation, not as a FinHub guidance letter, not as a court ruling that the next administration can choose to ignore. Federal law. XRP, with its payment-focused infrastructure, its utility-driven design, and its CFTC-aligned characteristics, sits directly in the digital commodity category under the frameworks being voted on tomorrow. And here's the distinction that most people in this community underestimate. Regulatory guidance can be reversed overnight. A new SEC chair can issue a statement. A new administration can direct enforcement priorities differently. A new court case can challenge existing interpretations. None of that is possible with federal law. Once the Clarity Act passes, XRP's legal status is locked permanently, regardless of who wins the next election, regardless of who runs the SEC in 2028, regardless of what the next administration thinks about digital assets. That permanence is worth 100 amendments from Elizabeth Warren. It is worth Memorial Day recess pressure. It is worth every piece of political friction the minority bloc can generate, because the institutions that need that legal permanence to deploy capital at full scale have been waiting for it since before XRP existed at its current price. Now let us talk about the urgency dimension that makes tomorrow's session even more critical. The Memorial Day congressional recess is approaching. Legislation that does not clear committee before the recess gets pushed back significantly. Industry groups including Club for Growth have been explicit about this. The Clarity Act must advance tomorrow or face a timeline delay that pushes it into the summer at best. That urgency is why the Republican majority on the committee is moving forward despite the amendment flood. They understand that tomorrow is the window, and that window closes with the recess. This is not a casual markup session. This is a now or never moment for digital asset regulatory clarity in the United States. And the 13-11 math says the bill moves forward tomorrow. Now I want to address something directly, because this is what I promised you at the 7-minute mark. The 100 amendments filed today are the loudest possible signal that the opposition knows they have lost the committee vote. Think about what it means structurally when you file 100 amendments the night before a markup. You are not trying to improve the legislation. You are trying to create procedural chaos. You are trying to force the committee chairman to spend time addressing each amendment. You are trying to run out the clock. But here is what the procedural math actually looks like in a Senate committee markup. The committee chairman controls the schedule. Amendments that lack majority support can be tabled quickly, and a 13-11 majority means the Republican bloc can move through the amendment process efficiently and advance the core bill to a full Senate vote. 100 amendments is noise. 13-11 is the signal. Now let us talk about what is happening on the network right now, because the on-chain data is telling a story that connects directly to what is playing out in Washington tomorrow. Mid-tier XRP holders, wallets holding 10,000 XRP or more, just hit a record high of 332,230 wallets. Let me put that number in context. These are not retail speculators buying $50 of XRP on Coinbase. These are holders with meaningful positions, people and institutions who have made a deliberate decision to accumulate significant XRP exposure. And they just reached a record high number simultaneously, in the days leading into the most important regulatory vote in XRP history. These wallets do not move to record highs by accident. They move to record highs when people with real capital and real information make coordinated decisions to accumulate before a catalyst. And the catalyst is tomorrow at 10:30 in the morning. Now let us talk about what is happening in Korea, because the trading data from Upbit and BitThumb adds another dimension to the accumulation picture. XRP is currently topping Bitcoin and Ethereum in trading volumes on South Korea's two largest exchanges. Upbit and BitThumb combined represent some of the highest retail crypto engagement in the world. Korean retail investors are not known for patience. They are known for moving fast when they identify a catalyst. The fact that XRP is outpacing Bitcoin and Ethereum on Korean volume right now, in the 24 hours before the Clarity Act markup, tells you something about where informed retail capital in one of the world's most active crypto markets is positioning. This is not random volume. This is directional accumulation ahead of a known catalyst. Now, let us connect the wallet data and the Korean volume to the supply picture, because when you combine all three, the math becomes very clear. Exchange reserves have dropped from 3.76 billion XRP to approximately 1.66 billion XRP since October 2025. That is a 57% decline in liquid exchange supply in under 8 months. Mid-tier wallets are at record highs. Korean volume is topping Bitcoin, and exchange liquid supply is simultaneously at multi-year lows. Rising demand signals from multiple directions, meeting a supply pool that has been structurally compressed by 57%. That combination does not require a prediction to understand. It only requires basic market math. Now, I want to address something directly, because this community deserves a rational voice on what tonight's news actually means and what it does not mean. David Schwartz, Ripple's CTO emeritus, has consistently said one thing throughout all the noise surrounding XRP. The conspiracy theories, the secret government deal claims, the hidden mechanism speculation almost always turn out to be false. And that rational framework is exactly the right lens for reading tonight's headlines. Elizabeth Warren filing 100 amendments is not a secret attack. It is a public Senate procedure. The 13-11 committee split is not hidden information. It is public record. The Memorial Day recess deadline is not insider knowledge. It is the congressional calendar. The bull case for XRP does not require secret information. It only requires reading the public data correctly. 100 amendments filed by the minority bloc the night before a vote they cannot win. Record mid-tier wallet accumulation. Korean volume topping Bitcoin and Ethereum. Exchange supply down 57%. ETF inflows approaching $1.35 billion. Standard Chartered modeling $28 by 2030. Everything that matters is already publicly visible. And this is where the math from Standard Chartered becomes very precise. Jeffrey Kendrick's price models are built on two core assumptions: ETF inflows of $4 to $10 billion and confirmed regulatory clarity. XRP ETF cumulative inflows are already approaching $1.35 billion. The mid-tier wallet count just hit a record 332,000. Korean volume is topping Bitcoin and Ethereum simultaneously. And tomorrow's markup is the legal clarity event that Kendrick's model requires to unlock the next phase of institutional deployment. His structural price targets remain $2.80 by end of 2026. $12.60 by 2028, and $28 by 2030. Galaxy Digital's Swift framework adds the utility dimension. 1% of Swift's $5 trillion daily payment volume would justify $4 to $5 structurally. 3% aligns with the $12.60 target. The Clarity Act markup tomorrow is the legal foundation that makes Swift-level institutional volume on the XRP ledger possible at scale. And the opposition just told you they cannot stop it by filing 100 amendments the night before the vote. Now I want to talk about something that most people in this community are getting wrong right now, because this psychological pattern shows up in every single market cycle without exception. Right now, XRP is trading between $1.43 and $1.46. The price has barely moved despite record wallet counts, despite Korean volume topping Bitcoin, despite 100 amendments being filed by the opposition, because they know they cannot win the committee vote. And a significant portion of this community is looking at the sideways price chart and feeling uncertain. This is the same pattern that plays out every single time. Near the top of every cycle, the social proof arrives first. Green candles on every screen, news channels covering crypto, friends texting about gains. The excitement creates an emotional safety signal that tells the brain it is safe to act, because everyone else is acting. Right now, record wallet accumulation is happening in silence. Korean retail is piling into XRP over Bitcoin in silence. The opposition is filing 100 desperate amendments because they cannot stop the bill in silence. And the price is sitting at $1.43 to $1.46. That is not weakness. That is the discount window staying open for the people who understand what the data is actually saying. The institutions positioning into this move do not need a green candle. They need legal certainty. And tomorrow at 10:30 in the morning, the 13 to 11 committee split is going to deliver exactly that. So let us zoom out and see the complete picture assembling right now on May 13th, 2026. 100 plus amendments filed by Elizabeth Warren in the minority bloc, every single one expected to fail against a 13 to 11 Republican majority. Memorial Day recess creating a now or never urgency for tomorrow's markup. Mid-tier XRP wallet count at a record 332,230. XRP topping Bitcoin and Ethereum on Korean exchange volumes. Exchange liquid supply down 57% since October. ETF cumulative inflows approaching $1.35 billion. Standard Chartered modeling $28 by 2030 on assumptions already being met. And the most important regulatory vote in XRP history scheduled for tomorrow at 10:30 in the morning. Elizabeth Warren filed 100 amendments tonight because she does not have the votes to stop what is coming tomorrow. In the 13 to 11 math says the Clarity Act advances. If this analysis changed how you are thinking about tonight's amendment flood and what it actually signals for tomorrow, hit like and subscribe. I drop deep dive breakdowns like this twice a day to keep you ahead of the move.